Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Everything I know about T-style recurve bow sights. Now these come also in metal, they come in various quality ranges, adjustment capabilities, right up to the super micro adjustable, really analytic picky setups, okay, that can really dial you in. Now, there's a lot of similarities between them all, one of which is you'll have a screw, one way or another, located somewhere, that is going to lock this so that it can't be twisted by hand. Because if I unlock this, then I can rotate this in and out, okay, wherever I need it. And because you're going to do most of your adjustments here, I would recommend centering wherever your slider distance goes. Find the middle point and throw it in the middle, okay? This way it's going to give you some fine adjustment that you won't be able to get otherwise, okay? So that's kind of an important thing. I made the rookie mistake of not doing that, so I got to recorrect it and then readjust my sight again, but that was my bad. As long as this is locked here, that this cannot move, then you can go to the other side and you can also adjust for your fine tuning, because that's what this knob over here is for, is fine tuning. But this must be locked so that this can't turn. Otherwise, if you unlock this and you turn this, it's going to do twisties here, which you don't want to happen. So make sure this is locked. Now, for adjusting this kind of a sight, which is going to be common on a lot of the even slightly more expensive versions of this, but in metal, okay, this here, when you unlock it, allows you to push your elevation and up and down, okay? So what you got to keep in mind too is left is right, right is left. So if you move this to the left, your shot goes to the right, and vice versa, okay? When you push this up, it makes you point down. When you push this downward, it brings you up, okay? Now, the way my T-bar is set, I'm at full extension. My settings right now for this bow at this poundage weight, using 500 spine, 320 grain arrows, okay, which full weight, tip and all included, at a 28-inch shaft-to-shaft cut, okay? So that doesn't include insert, that doesn't include tip, etc. Okay, but once you include all that and the weight is there at 320 grain, at a 28-inch draw, this is going to be my exact precise setting and setup of this T-bar, including the screw locations of the bar, because that affects the bar for how much room you even have with this too at full extension. There's a lot of variables here, okay, but this is the way I got it set. This position allows me 10 yards. If I want to shoot beyond 10 yards, then I will have to see how much fudge room I have before my shot placement is affected from bullseye, and then go accordingly, one movement at a time. And there's like a little clicker tooth here that goes up against the rail inside here that has little lock slots, okay? They only happen on the one side of this the one side of this sight. So you can't just, flip it around like you would think, right? Now this sight, and I think all of the T-bar sights are generally a left or right-handed orientation, because whenever you see the setup, if you flip the whole works around, this flips with it, because this can only go on one side of the bar anyway. You can't flip it to the other side of the bar. At least I've not seen one that you can do that with, okay? But either way, if it's a left-handed bow, okay, like this is, my shelf's on the right, this has to be on the right side for me to visually look through and aim, okay? I can't have it the other way around or it won't work. So, but if I take this off and I put it on a right-handed bow, that means that this whole unit flips around, which then places this on the opposite side for a right-handed bow, where my shelf is on the left, and then I would be able to shoot it, okay, and sight it in, etc., right? Now, like I said, this height too of the main front bar, wherever you place this in a height onto this bar, is also going to affect where your elevation is going to sit. Doesn't affect windage, but does affect elevation, okay? And once you are set for your windage, with a specific spined arrow, specific weight and length of arrow, with your draw length, etc., you should never have to change your windage ever again. So when you're going to set up your sighting system, do it on a day where there's no wind at all, okay? Or do it indoors, even at a 20-yard range. Okay, set yourself up for 10 yards, set yourself up for 20 yards. Now, the thing that's really interesting about these things too is there is numbers and dashes, and these are only reference points so that you can say, okay, well, I'm going to choose the bottom or I'm going to choose the top, wherever this happens to sit. Now, these numbers are upside down because normally this is on a right-handed bow, but because it also works on left-handed, the numbers are now upside down. I have seen one such site on Amazon that is listed as left or right-handed, and they have dual scale dashes with dual number systems, and one tag is set up for the correct orientation of looking at the front going, oh yeah, that's 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, and the other side it's like upside down like I am now. 7's at the top and 1's at the bottom. 1 should be at the top and 7 should be at the bottom, and it will be if I put it on a right-handed bow, but on a left-handed bow it's upside down. But don't worry about it. You don't have to care about that, okay? I talked to my archery shop guy, and he gave me everything I needed to know about these things, and that's why I'm telling you guys, all right? So they are reference points, and he says what people do that are using this kind of a site is they make a reference mark at whatever they want to call it, okay? And there are a lot of these sites too that no numbers at all, just dashes. And the wide dash is the main number, and the short dash is like your in-between, which would be like a 5. Okay, so it'd be like little dash 1, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash. The 5th dash is going to be a wider dash, and then a full width dash, that's going to be your next corresponding or first main number, what have you, okay? And so they'll write up a cheat sheet going 10 yards, and this is the number. They'll pick it from the top or the bottom part, and they'll do their numbers that way and say, okay, and they already know that on their own equipment, how they've set it up for their own mental viewing pleasure to know what they've done. And then they'll go to the next yardage. They'll do the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, until they've gone through all the yardages that they want to or that they can at this actual particular setup. Now, without even changing this location on the bar, you have distance, okay? Now, this is at the furthest out setting, so whatever you see on my setup, this is 10 yards. If I go lower, I bring elevation up, I get more yardage. But I'm only going to get so much out of this, okay? And then I'm going to come to the bottom and I can't go any further, okay? There is a limit, right? So another way to compensate without making any changes yet is to just undo the bolt and go to the next hole. When I go to the next hole, without changing any setting whatsoever, I fire it and I see where my shot is hitting, and that's going to give me an idea of, okay, I need to move back further. And you move back another, 5 feet or 10 feet, whatever, and you take another shot until you're bang on, and then you check that yardage. And so the second hole, without touching this, the second hole is this yardage. And you can bring this all the way in to the next hole, and then of course you have your final hole, which puts the sight right up close and personal to the bow like this, and voila, you're done. You cannot go in any closer, but then you're also pointing really high up, so you can maximize the range quite a bit. You get a lot of range out of this by just even moving this in and out, which is fantastic. You just got to figure out what those ranges are and mark by reference points, right? Reference point here to this hole here is this yardage. Without even moving this, you'll know what yardage you are with each reference point in this position, and then you do the same thing for the next level, and so forth. So there is an awful lot of range, and then you still have the ability to lift this up a few stages higher, which changes this, and you can do more and more stuff, right? So there's a lot to this, and for a cheap site, I've seen these on Amazon as low as $15 for this exact one. And there's a few other sellers call it an SAS archery version or Wukatonka version, whatever, whoever's name is on it. They have different versions of this, right? So, And that's just in the plastic. Then they have even really super cheap garbage below this. Walk away, run! It's real bad. Okay, this is actually really good for a cheapie. And then you can move up the evolutionary ladder in features and price, material, what it's made out of, etc. Now, I don't know if these sights for the pins here are universal threaded, but I am going to be upgrading to a metal one because I kind of prefer metal and I want more precision accuracy for adjustment. So I will be going with whatever one I decide to go with. And I may even put one of these on each of my recurves, right? Like this is my Olympic bow, but I got 2 recurves behind me and I wouldn't mind putting sights on them either, you know? So it's kind of like, well, you know, hey, sky's the limit what we can do with stuff, right? And these things are really good, and you don't even need a peep sight with this because, well, there is no peep sight being used generally on a recurve bow, unless you're Survival Lily, and she actually went for a full-on compound front sight. She put a peep sight on, she put the little rubber band for it and everything. She modded her one bow, and yeah, it makes the accuracy a lot better, at a lot more ranges. Instead of instinctive shooting all the time, you can be really deadly with sights. So sights do have their advantages. And there is a hunter sight that looks like a compound sight, but it's for compound bows, or you can use it on recurves and you won't require a peephole, at least not on the recurve side anyways, but they call it a hunter sight. Well, you can use a general compound sight and you can set it up, it can be done, but it is better apparently to a few YouTubers I've watched go for the hunter sight because that is actually more designed around the recurve type of people as opposed to compound users. So, and I have one of those type of sights here that we're going to try out anyways. It's off of a recurve bow I had, was a Barnett Black Cat, and I kept the sight because I was a recurve bow that had this sight. It's a pin sight. We're going to try it out and see how well it actually works, even in comparison to this, because I got 3 pins to screw with, lots of settings for elevation, but no way to reference point. So I'm going to have to basically set my thing up and then just use my pins from there because I won't have markers. It is like dirt cheap plastic, so we don't really have a lot of capabilities like a higher end sight would have. But I want to try it out and see what it's actually like because she did that originally with no peephole, and that actually really helped. So I want to see what it's like in comparison to even this, because this is really nice. So, you know, I like this, but more compact is always nicer too, you know. And I'm going to play more around too with the depths of this thing too to see, okay, I know if I go deeper in, I'm going to have more elevation, but, you know, by how much can I reduce? Because I know that up will bring me down and down brings me up and left moves me right and right moves me left, you know, just like a gun does. So there you go. So these are references. They're not set in stone numbers. It's just reference points, and you write down your own little sheet of whatever way you want to go with the top edge or bottom edge, wherever it happens to land. That's simplest for you to remember. And you go according to that, set your yardage, and then you start working with your holes to see, okay, what effect does this have in this position? How much changes, right? And you reference it, and you build a big sheet. And then this way you can go out shooting, and you can go at short distances, or you can go way on out, 80 to 100 yards, or whatever you want to do, and you'll already have all those references set as you've dialed things in for yourself. You'll know also the limitations of how far 28-pound limbs will get you too, or whatever you're using for a bow. Okay, my other 2 are 40-pound and 45-pound, so that's where they're sitting at. But, and you can buy this bow. I have a review on it. You can buy it up to 36-pound limbs on it, but I have a full review on this. But I wanted to do a specific to the T-bar sight because I promised you guys I would. This is everything I know, and I don't think I've missed anything, but anything's possible. But the sky is the limit for price. These things, when you go to the really classy stuff like top end, you're talking $900, $1,200, $1,700 sight systems that are super, super high position. Olympic shooters would be using that kind of class. The rest of us, we don't need that. We're okay with spending less than our monthly car or mortgage payment in order to accomplish our goals and still have high quality on a high quality bow too. Like this is a $110 bow. I'm not going to spend probably more than $80 tops on a sight that I want for this. And the other ones I may go cheaper route, even though they're more expensive bows. We'll have to see how things go with what I pick in the end. But I do like the ability to have sights on the recurve, and it's like, man, my life is so much easier, right? But I still want to learn traditional archery at the same time. Anyways, and instinctive at that, okay, is what I'm after, is instinctive shooting. I want to learn that too. I don't want to always have to rely on sights. I want instinctive archery as well, and I want to get really good at that. So anyway, this is all I got for you. If you have questions, leave them down below, and if I can answer them, I will. But I think we've pretty much covered everything we possibly need to know about these things and the basic fundamentals of how these different screws work and adjustments work, etc. I think we're pretty okay with that. Like I said, just set this one here with this screw here. Set your alignment in the middle initially, and then just screw it in left, screw it in to go left or right, depending on where you got to go for your windage, and stick with that arrow specific so that you don't have to alter your windage again, right? Once you have an arrow that you really like, set it up for those arrow spines, weights, etc., and then you never have to mess with windage again. It'll just be your elevation from that point on, and then you're going to go with it from there. And same with the same brand of arrows too. Find a brand you really like and stick with it, because different brands also have different characteristics about them. We'll talk about that in a completely different video as well. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, got a lot out of it, and we will see you on the next one. And oh yeah, don't forget my archery playlist. I got tons of stuff in there now, and more coming. See ya.